The first blow landed before the old man even understood why the day had turned dark, and the sound of it echoed down the quiet mountain road like a door slamming shut on mercy. Snow still clung to the edges of the wooden porch, the kind of snow that muffles footsteps and makes the world feel peaceful, but peace can be a lie when no one is watching. An 80-year-old veteran, living alone in a place he had chosen for its silence, collapsed under the weight of hands that had no idea whose life they were touching. The men thought they had found an easy target. They had no idea they had stepped into a story that would change them forever. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a second to pause. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that good can still rise out of cruelty, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The old man had survived wars that history books now summarized in a few cold paragraphs. He had buried friends under foreign skies, carried wounds that never fully healed, and returned home with a heart that learned to stay quiet. Years later, when his wife passed and his only son left to serve overseas, he chose a small house near the mountains, a place where mornings smelled of pine and memories felt less heavy. He lived simply, fixing his own meals, polishing the medals he never talked about, and saluting the flag every dawn as if time had stopped somewhere inside him. He was not lonely in the way people imagined. He was just alone, and there is a difference. The men who came that day were loud where he was quiet, careless where he was careful. They had followed rumors of an old veteran living by himself, rumors that twisted honor into weakness. To them, the house looked like an opportunity, the old man like a forgotten chapter no one would defend. When they grabbed him, there was no dramatic resistance, only the instinctive stiffness of a body that had once been trained to endure pain. His crutch slipped on the wooden boards, his balance failed him, and he fell in a way that felt far more humiliating than painful. Each shove felt heavier than the last, not because of the force, but because of the insult. He tasted blood and snow and thought, not for the first time, that surviving so much only to end like this felt cruelly ironic. What the men did not see was the framed photograph inside the house, just by the door. It showed a younger version of the old man standing beside a tall, broad-shouldered soldier in uniform, both smiling in a way that only shared sacrifice creates. The son had inherited his father's quiet strength, but life had taken him down a harder road. He had joined the Navy, then been selected for a path few survive, a world of relentless training, discipline, and silence. The old man never bragged about it. He barely spoke of his son at all, except in prayers whispered before sleep. Distance had become normal. Danger had become expected. Love had remained constant. As the assault continued, the old man's mind drifted in fragments. He remembered holding his son's hand when he was small, promising to always protect him. He remembered breaking that promise the day he watched him board a bus to basic training, knowing protection sometimes means letting go. On the porch, with cold biting into his bones, he felt the weight of age more than ever before. His body failed him, but his spirit refused to beg. There was dignity even in his pain, and that dignity unsettled the men more than any resistance could have. Down the road, beyond the bend where trees thickened and the mountains rose like silent witnesses, another figure was moving fast. The son had returned unexpectedly, his leave unannounced, his plan simple. He wanted to surprise his father, to sit on that porch and listen to stories he had heard 100 times but never tired of. Years of elite training had sharpened his senses in ways civilians never notice. Something was wrong before he even saw it. The stillness felt broken. The air carried tension like electricity before a storm. When he came into view, the scene etched itself into him with brutal clarity. His father, older and smaller than memory allowed, was on his knees. Strangers towered over him with cruelty written in their posture. In that instant, time compressed. Training, instinct, and emotion collided. There was no hesitation, no confusion, only a cold, focused resolve that had been forged in the harshest environments on Earth. The men had mistaken age for weakness, and they were about to learn how wrong they were. What followed was not flashy heroics, but controlled precision. Years of discipline kept rage from becoming recklessness. Each movement was purposeful, each second measured. The attackers realized too late that the quiet road had given them no escape. The presence they felt was overwhelming, not loud, not boastful, but absolute. Fear replaced arrogance as quickly as arrogance had replaced decency. The son moved like someone who had spent a lifetime running toward danger while others ran away. In moments, the balance of power shifted completely. When it was over, the silence returned, heavier than before. The men were gone, scattered by consequences they had never imagined. The old man remained, shaking, not from pain alone, but from the shock of seeing his past and future collide in the form of the men standing before him. The son knelt beside him, hands steady now for a different reason. In his father's eyes, there was confusion, relief, and a deep, aching pride that words could never express. The promise made decades ago, the promise to protect, had come full circle. Recovery was slow, both physically and emotionally. Bruises faded, but the memory lingered like a shadow at the edge of daylight. The old man struggled with the idea that he had been seen as weak, that his independence had nearly cost him his life. The son struggled with guilt, replaying the scene and wondering what might have happened if he had arrived a minute later. Yet something beautiful grew in that shared struggle. Mornings on the porch returned, this time with 2 chairs. Stories were told again, not as memories fading into silence, but as living proof of resilience. The incident rippled through the small community, awakening something long dormant. Neighbors checked in more often. Respect replaced assumption. People began to see the old veteran not as a fragile relic, but as a living testament to sacrifice. And the son, despite his formidable reputation, was seen most clearly in the quiet moments, helping his father stand, listening more than speaking, honoring the men who had shaped him. If this story has started to stir something in you, hold on to that feeling. Not every hero wears a uniform today, and not every act of courage is loud. Sometimes it is simply surviving with dignity, and sometimes it is showing up when it matters most. Just before we reach the end, I have a special request for you. Please comment below with one word that this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know, and they help others connect to this message. In the final days of his visit, the son prepared to leave again, duty calling him back to a world few understand. The goodbye was quieter this time, heavier with unspoken truths. The old man stood a little straighter, leaning less on his crutch, pride filling the spaces where fear had been. He knew he was not invincible, but he also knew he was not forgotten. As the car disappeared down the mountain road, the porch no longer felt like a place of vulnerability. It felt like a place of survival. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone you love or a promise you once made, please engage with this video. Like it, share it, and let the algorithm carry this message of respect, protection, and second chances to someone who needs it today. Sometimes, the world changes not through noise, but through stories that remind us who we are meant to be.